Welcome to the Solid Signal podcast for the week of March 16th, 2015. And I'm going to take this opportunity to thank everyone who has been listening since I started up the podcast again and who has left positive comments, because it's really nice to know that you're out there and that you're interested and that I'm not just talking to myself. Because, hey, when you record these things, it sometimes feels like it. When I do these podcasts and I write a lot of articles at blog.solidsignal.com, I get a lot of comments, and it makes me wonder if I'm always hitting the mark. I try to write and speak at a bunch of different levels because I know there are different people out there who are at different points in their experience and who might need a different level of expertise. I don't want to assume that everybody is an expert, and I don't want to assume that everybody's a novice. So I want to put it to you guys who actually listen to this stuff. Am I hitting the mark? Am I doing it right? One of our more valued members at the Solid Signal blog recently mentioned to me that I was using a term saying that antennas pull in signal. And he pointed out that in fact antennas do not pull in signal. The amount of resistance that an antenna offers is lower than the amount of resistance the air offers. Therefore, the antenna is acting, as an antenna. It's receiving information more effectively than air or wood or anything else would. And it's not actively doing anything to pull anything. I replied that I was being sort of colloquial, and that while, in fact, no active pulling was taking place, the effect of having a higher gain, lower resistance antenna was similar to that of pulling in a signal. And that's why I said so. But you see, that's just an example of the way that I talk when I do these podcasts and the way that I write to try to bridge the gap between being strictly scientific and trying to come up with a way that explains something in a way that most people can hear and understand. But I want to know from you guys, in a case like something like that, did I go too far? Should I have been more technical? Should I have been less folksy? I'm not generally accused of being extraordinarily folksy, so it's not something that I necessarily can't get rid of if I don't need it. See, it's hard to even wrap my head around that whole discussion. But I want to make sure that when you're coming to the Solid Signal blog or to the Solid Signal podcast for advice, that you're getting advice in a way that makes sense to you. I always learned that communication has to be transmitted and received. So if I'm talking over your head or if I'm talking way too low, then you're not receiving that information effectively, and that means it's no good to you. Here's another case where I've been taken to task. I tend to refer to the entire front assembly of a satellite dish as the LNB. That includes the arm, the feed horn, the actual LNBs themselves, even sometimes the drip loop or grounding block. Well, to me it's just more sensible to talk about the reflector and the LNB, especially when it comes to the point that DirecTV, for example, and Dish as well, sell the entire front assembly as an LNB, even though it also includes several other components and plastic shrouds. For those of you who want to be excruciatingly accurate, the only part that is technically an LNB, or LNBF, which is even more precise, is the actual electronics behind those white shields in the actual very front of the satellite dish. But you can't buy those separately anyway. I've done a whole bunch of articles about what an LNB is, and when I do sometimes get comments like that. And yet I never hear from people who say, hey, yeah, that helped me actually make sense of the whole matter. Because most of the time, happy people don't leave comments. Well, happy people, this is your opportunity. I would love to hear from you. If you are, as a president once said, the great silent majority of folks who are actually reading the stuff and it does make sense to you, I would sure appreciate a comment after this podcast, or perhaps something at the Solid Signal blog, or even a contact just telling me that I'm on the right track. It may seem insecure, but the most important thing here, folks, is making sure you are all taken care of.